All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to part 2 for Ask the King for here September 20th, 2018. Episode 72. Holy crap, I've been doing this show for a long time. If you missed out on part 1 because you're watching on YouTube, it should be available on demand right here on this YouTube channel, so give it a look. If you're watching on stream, welcome back from break. Thanks for being patient. All right, we're going to jump right into the next. We're going to jump into the next. All right. The next question. Why is everyone in stream chat spamming Scarface? Everyone in stream chat is spamming Scarface. I have no idea why. Everyone just said Scarface at once. You've lost me. I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to ignore it and answer questions. Okay. So, the next question is from Hermano Carl. For those who are not aware, Hermano Carl is the gentleman who has made a ridiculous amount of fan art for the streams. Not only promotional artwork for like Teespring and the like, but all the hand-drawn art that you've seen over the summer and these last couple of months, the pencil art and stuff, he's done all of that, all right? So he's really positively contributed to all of the streams recently. So, of course, shout out. All right, now, Armando Carl asked the following question. He says, I believe you explained at some point where you got the name Darkside from. The understanding is that it was some music band and you thought that the name was appropriate and easy to say, or something of that sort. I'm not sure. Could you explain it one more time? And if it was from a music band, could you tell us specifically which one that was and the type of music that they made or make? So, DarksydePhil, where did it come from? Well, back in the day, I had a really terrible online name, Whoa Moses. And I've told the story a million times of how I got that name. It was just me trying to log into AOL for the first time in the 1990s when I was in high school. Couldn't get any of the names that I wanted, so I just made something up on the... Actually, I had to randomly generate it, and it worked. And I was like, fuck it, and I kept that for a while. And I started posting up on things like Street Fighter message boards and the like as Whoa Moses, and I hated that name. And I always wanted something catchy. I wanted something that, for example, if I went to a game tournament, someone could remember my name and always remember, you know, an easy name to say, something catchy. And at the time, I was a huge fan of WWE, and RVD had just joined the WWE, and I liked it. Rob Van Dam, RVD. It's catchy. You remember it. It's something very easy. 3 letters, right? Synonymous with someone. It's really cool. So I wanted something like that. And at the time, okay, there was a band, and I'll be honest with you guys, I don't remember the name of the band at all. They were really bad. Now I look back at music at the time, and a lot of the music and shit at the time that I liked, I think is terrible now. It was a band that like they were rappers, but not really. Like they played actual music, like with like a band would with guitars and you know drums, but they were rappers too. It was so fucking weird. I don't even know. It was basically the same. There was this time like where all these bands like 311, anyone remember them? They were like a hybrid. They would play rock music but rap instead of really sing. So I don't know who they were. I don't even remember the name of them. And they had this one song called Butterflies that was very, very, very popular in the mainstream. And it was being played on MTV constantly or whatever. And it was like stuck in my head because back then you would hear the same songs over and over so much you get this music stuck in your fucking head. Now they had another song called Darkside, all right? And I remember, I could kind of remember some of the, like, how it went, like, dun 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 dun, Darkside, dun 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 dun, dun 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 dun, and it was terrible, and it was, like, rapping, it was really bad, but I liked it back then for whatever reason. Crazy Town, was that the name of them? That's actually ringing a bell. Crazy Town, yeah, okay, I guess they were called Crazy Town. I now hate it, like, I think about that music, I'm like, God, that's terrible. But back then I liked it because I was a dumb kid. So they had this song, Dark Side, and somehow that inspired me to say Dark Side, DSP, Phil, DSP, DarksydePhil. But the thing was, I didn't want people to think DarksydePhil had to do with Star Wars. Even though I liked Star Wars movies, I didn't want people to think that I was like a huge Star Wars fanboy geek nerd who dressed up like Darth Vader or whatever. So I wanted it to be different. So I made Dark Side with a Y instead of an I. So that you say it's not the power of the dark side. It's DarksydePhil, his own thing. Okay. And so I started using that name, DSP, DarksydePhil, on all the, you know, the Shoryuken.com forums and all that shit. Okay. yeah, and that's just kind of how it went down. And then the rest is history. You know, over the years, I got many other monikers like the King of Hate and stuff like that, and that's a whole different, you know, explanation and situation. Okay. All right, let's move on. Next question here. Okay, this one is from Sonago, and Sonago asks the following. Hi, I was wondering what kind of weather do you like the most when you are working? That's a great question, honestly. That's a great question because working in the kind of environment that I work is very different than just a standard office job, and at the same time, it's very different than working outside, obviously. I, right now, am in a small office full of electronics. Like, right now, I've got a PC, a laptop, 2 monitors, speakers, and all this kind of stuff over here, webcam, microphone, all in front of me. On a regular work day, I've also, in addition to all of that, got a television over here, a game console, and other stuff running. Obviously, I have lighting, a lamp on. That heats up the office. So, in general, the ambient temperature in this office is about 10 to 15 degrees hotter than the rest of my house. Because when I work, I close my door so that the whole house doesn't just hear my voice booming through it with cavernous noise. And with all these electronics on, it creates stuffy air, meaning it's very stuffy. You don't feel like fresh air in here. It just feels like very confined, claustrophobic almost. And so there are different seasons when actually it's easier or nicer to do my job. Right now, I'm feeling really good. Right now, outside, it's in the 60s, probably like mid to high 60s Fahrenheit. So it's pretty cool outside. It's cloudy. So there's no heat or anything coming from the sun right now. So I'm feeling good. I've got a breeze coming through my window, and it's very nice. But if the sun came out right now, what would happen is the sun beats on the side of my office, and it heats it up in the afternoon by about another 10 to 15 degrees. So let's say in my house right now, it's probably like, I don't know, low 70s, mid 70s. In here right now, it's probably high 70s, low 80s. If the sun came out, it would be like 95 degrees in this office, like an oven, okay? So that's the problem, is I got to find that medium where I can do my job and not sweat my balls off, okay? So during the summer, I have an air conditioner that I have in that window, and it's just constantly on, pumping cold air into the room so that I can actually do my job. Now, just last week, actually it was last weekend, I took the air conditioner out of the wall, or out of the window. And so basically I'm not getting that cooling air in here anymore. So now on a day like today, it's perfect. It's cool, even though it's a little stuffy. It's cool. I'm getting a nice breeze in from the window. But if the sun comes out, I get hot as hell. That's what happened the past 3 days. I'm not even kidding. I took the air conditioner out of the window, and the sun comes out for 3 straight days, and I'm hot in here. I'm like, oh god, I got stream now, and I'm sweating. Now the good news is, the further we get into the fall season, the cooler it gets. So even though now it's like 60s, probably within a month or two, it'll maybe start to even go down a little bit more into the 50s. Then the ambient temperature drops more, and therefore it's pretty much nice from around now all the way through, I'd say, like March, April. Then in April, all of a sudden the temperature starts to go up again, and then we get back to the heat cycle here, okay? Ultimately, when it's the best is when it rains. When it rains outside, not only is it cool in here, but I get like a little bit of moisture that comes into the office, and it's very refreshing. So the truth of the matter is, the most common weather that we have out here in Washington State near Seattle is rain. And so when that's happening, it's actually very nice in the office. But the thing is, the summer months are really bad. Okay. Shout out to the Spoony one, who asked the following. He says, Phil, after 10 years of you playing games for YouTube, Blip, and Twitch, do you ever get tired of playing video games? Did you ever feel sick of sitting down and playing games for 5+ hours? Thanks for the content. Have I ever gotten really tired of playing games? The answer is no. I'll say this. There were a few years there early on in my career, I'd probably say around 2012, when I felt a little bit burnt out because I was under pressure to constantly be playing new games. Back then, it wasn't like I would go back and play retro games. I would play every new release. And so sometimes I would play a new release that I just wasn't liking, but it was the only new release for the week, and I had to put out video content every day to make money. So I was like, man, I just got to keep pushing ahead. And sometimes people would even say, this game kind of sucks. We don't want to watch you play it. And I'd be like, well, I'm still pushing ahead playing it anyway. I wish you guys would just watch whatever. That was the wrong attitude to have. What I should have done is I should have been a lot more interactive with my viewing audience and saying, okay, if you guys really don't like me playing every new release, what would you like to see? Would you like to see special events? Would you like to see me go back and do retro stuff? What kind of stuff could we do to add variety to my content rather than it just being, oh, Phil just plays every new release, and then people get tired of my content and I get burnt out, right? So, that being said, that was at one point. But the good thing now is I'm a variety streamer, right? At any time, I could be playing a new game or an old game, a JRPG, a fighting game, a shooting game, a first-person shooter, a third-person action game with exploration and puzzles. You see what I mean? Like, I play so much variety that, honestly, I don't get bored. Like, every day I just come and sit down and say, I'm going to do something different. Just this week, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Street Fighter V, finished up Spider-Man. I played a game called Transference, which was completely different from everything else. Today I'm doing Ask the King, Dragon Quest XI, which is a JRPG. Everything I did this week was completely different. So how can I even get burnt out when every time I sit down here on my couch to do another stream, it's something fun and different? I really don't. I don't get burnt out sitting here and playing games. I actually have a lot of fun with it. However, here's what I could say is, if I were one of these streamers who only had one genre that they played, for example, fighting game streamers. All I do is play fighting games all day. If I was just playing first-person shooters like Call of Duty all day, I probably would hate my job. That's not the kind of person I am. Like, even though I love Street Fighter, even during my highest level of competitive days, when I was going to tournaments and winning and doing all that, I had burnout. Like, I would play for a week straight and then say, man, I'm tired of this. I need to take time away from it for a few days to a week. And a lot of times, I would play fighting games so much that actually I would get worse. The more I would play so much, I would get worse at it. I would go do something else for a week, come back and feel refreshed and do better again. That's kind of how I am. Like, I will feel burnout if I'm doing the same exact kind of thing all the time. And that's why I don't do only fighting games. That's why I do a wide variety of stuff, because I know that doing the wide variety of stuff allows me to not get burnout, but also to be a person who appeals to the masses. You can have different groups of people coming in at different times to watch different genres of gaming. You know what? If watching me do a vlog live on stream and answer your questions isn't your cup of tea, you could come back tomorrow and watch me do a completely different kind of stream, right? And that's the cool thing about what I do. All right. I've said many times, I respect people like Arturo Sanchez, also known as NYC Furby here on Twitch. I host him. And every once in a while, I join one of his streams at night, and I give him so many props. I'm like, dude, there's no way I could do what you do. You're playing fighting games every day on stream. I couldn't do that. I would drive me nuts. I would never want to play a fighting game again if all I did on stream was play fighting games. Like, I like that I maybe once a week, twice a week play a random fighting game here and there, but I can't do this for a living. That would drive me nuts. I want to do variety. I want to have it be refreshing and fun, you know? All right. So there you go. Next question is from Speedy777. Speedy777. Now, I didn't accidentally type his name twice. That's actually his full name on the forums, okay? Okay. So his question is as follows. Hey, Phil, I have a two-part question. My questions are recently with Battle Royale games like Fortnite or H1Z1 or Blackout, etc. Do you think these games will dominate the game market and stay really popular and successful, eliminating games with good gameplay and story completely? Or do you think that they're going to fall off over time the way Minecraft did? Also, do you just hope that these types of games won't affect special games in the future that could be in our hearts as classics? And thanks for years of entertainment. So he's talking about the Battle Royale craze, all right? Let's be honest here, guys. There's two groups of people into the Battle Royale craze. I'm going to be honest here. The first group of people were people who played all these games on PC, okay? Games like DayZ, H1Z1, then eventually PUBG, and then eventually moved in recently to Fortnite. And these were people who loved the genre. It became a viral PC gaming genre. They sunk tons and tons and tons of money into the games. Early access, buying customizable outfits. Basically, anyone who made a Battle Royale game on PC ended up becoming rich because this became this craze on PC. That's one group. One group of people who play Battle Royale. The other group basically started in the fall of last year, and this is when Fortnite became free to play on consoles. And what happened was that kids said, oh, it's a game that's kind of cartoony, it's free to play, a lot of celebrities who I already know from other things are now jumping in to play this game, and I can not only watch them play on stream, but then I can immediately go and play the game myself and try to emulate those people. And that's exploded into another viral kind of phenomenon. Now, money started rolling in for Fortnite when these kids played the game for free, but then realized, oh my god, I want to customize my character with 100 skins. So I'm going to ask my mom for her credit card and say, for Christmas, can I have $100 credit in Fortnite so I could buy all this customizable shit? And that's basically kind of how Fortnite made its money, is getting kids to play the game for free because it kind of looked cartoony. And then the kids watched people become popular on the internet for playing this game on Twitch, and they wanted to be like their idol gamers, and they went and sunk a ton of money into the game, or their parents' money. That's a very different audience. You know what I mean? Like, the audience of who made these games popular on PC are very different from the audience who have now made Fortnite virally popular. So all that being said, your question is, do I feel that these games are going to destroy gaming as a whole and make that's like the kind of popular stuff, or is it a fad? It's a fad. It's a fad. It's a fad because just like Minecraft, just like the team-based shooter game, co-op shooters, it's the next gaming fad. We've seen so many of these over the years that I've done YouTube for a living, including the motion control. Oh my god, the motion control fad, where every console had to have motion control, starting with the Wii, which went virally popular. So then we had to have the PS Move and the Kinect, waving your hands around like a fucking asshole in front of a camera, and it ended up becoming crap and no one uses them anymore, right? Then we had, excuse me, the Minecraft slash kind of build your own style games, right? Because Minecraft was the one that kind of originated the popular movement for it, build your own shit. But then there were many other games that kind of jumped off of the heels of Minecraft and made their own things and other own popularity based off of that same kind of genre of game, right? Then you had, I would say, there was in there around that same time a first-person shooter craze on consoles. Remember the years when Call of Duty, Battlefield, Bulletstorm, there was like literally every year 10 to 15 major first-person shooters that were releasing at various times of the year, to the point where it's impossible to even play them all because there's so many of them. And then that craze died out, right? And then I would say there was the team-based shooter fad, where cooperative online grinding gameplay, Destiny, all these fucking Tom Clancy games. The whole gimmick is it's not really a very interesting or original game. In fact, a lot of these games lift elements of other great gaming franchises, but because they put it into a co-op game where really the enjoyment comes by you playing with your friends and having a social experience while you're grinding and shooting things, the games became popular versus actually putting out a quality game that you want to play because the game is good. Instead, you're doing it to do repetitive stuff with your friends. And we've seen a lot of these games in recent years, right? Oh, that's another good one, Moonwalkman. I actually agree with you. The zombie games craze. For like 2 years straight, we had Left 4 Dead, The Walking Dead, Dead. Everything was dead. Every game had dead. A million zombie fucking games that all came out within a short period of time, right? The newest craze undoubtedly is Battle Royale. Honestly, if you actually look at numbers, the Battle Royale craze has already kind of ended on PC. Like, it really kind of hit its peak with PUBG, and then it kind of started to fizzle out. The player base for these games on PC is actually going down, but the player base on console, with Fortnite being the game again, every kid has a gaming console. This is a free game. They all play it because it's free and it's viral. Every time I go to my local mall, because as I've told you guys, I live in Washington State, and Microsoft is based out of Washington State. So Microsoft actually has kiosks to advertise their consoles and their PC gaming stuff at local malls. My local mall has a giant display. They have VR. They have multiple setups with Xbox One X's. And guess what they have on it? Fortnite. Guess who's playing it? Children. And I'm not talking, a teenager. No, children. Small children are constantly playing this in the mall. And they know what they're doing. Like, you watch and they're playing and knowing how to play because they play it at home. That's the customer base for Fortnite. So much like I said, like with Minecraft and all that, you get this popularity based off of kids. And that means ultimately it's going to be a fad. So the Battle Royale craze on PC was a very adult-oriented, serious thing based on money and profit. And now Fortnite has become money based off of the popularity from children. It's going to fizzle out. It is, just like all these other fads. Now, the short-term effect is that in the mainstream media, a lot of the media just thinks like Fortnite's the only game out there. We don't even talk about other fucking games. Fortnite's the biggest one. In reality, the common gamer doesn't give a fuck about Fortnite. The common gamer, who is the person who played games for years, is going to continue to play video games, it's their hobby, it's their passion, doesn't fucking care about Fortnite. It's a fringe group of kids that are making Fortnite popular, but that's what the mainstream wants to talk about, because the people who are ignorant to video games and video game culture see their kids playing this free game and think it's all the hype and they got to talk about it, right? I certainly do not feel at all that we're going to see this. I don't think that Battle Royale games are going to take everything over. What we're going to see is more games are going to try to jump on the bandwagon. The Call of Duties, the Battlefields. We're going to see other game genres who normally wouldn't do Battle Royale try to do Battle Royale to make a buck in the next couple of years. But ultimately, I don't think Battle Royale is going to last. It's going to be a flash in the pan for a year or two, just like all these other things. And yes, there will always be games that do it. Much like Minecraft never died. It's just not popular anymore. Who talks about Minecraft anymore? Almost no one. I mean, yeah, think about the people who became virally popular on YouTube just for Minecraft content, and it lasted like 2-3 years. And now it's kind of fizzling out because no one really talks or cares about Minecraft anymore. Same thing with this Battle Royale shit. You got people who jumped on, and they'll be popular for it for a few years, and then it's going to fizzle out, and they got to find the next new thing. You know what I mean? But no, I don't believe that it's going to kill gaming at all. I don't think it's going to have a long-term negative effect on it, okay? Okay. By the way, Himanoma did a bunch of cheers. I guess I should give a shout-out here for some of these cheers. First, he said, I'm moving quite a distance. Any unsuspected things I should expect? Cost. What you may find is moving costs are exorbitant. They were for me. Even the cheapest mover was really expensive. Don't expect everything to go according to plan. When you show up at your new place, shit was going to go wrong. It did for me. Things may not show up on time. Like, you'll order furniture and stuff, and it doesn't show up. And now you're stuck without stuff for extended periods of time. Just be prepared to be flexible. I hope that basically wherever you're moving, you have at least like a week to set up and get accustomed to where you are, rather than, oh, I have to rush right into a job and rush right into everything else, because you're going to find shit's going to go wrong and you're going to have time. You're going to need time to deal with it. Okay. At least that's my best suggestion. Then Himanoma cheered again. He said, Butterflies was Crazy Town. Yikes. He cheered again. He said, should I throw my Xbox One out of a window? No. If you don't use it, you should probably trade it in or sell it. He cheered again. He says, I was too lazy for brilliant Grasshopper games for the Wii. Then he cheered again. He said, Resident Evil 4 influenced an era as well. Okay. All right, let's continue. Shit. Okay, there we go. Wow, my laptop was freezing up. Next question is from AceGamer87. And AceGamer asked the following. You have made your feelings known that you disliked Final Fantasy VIII. My question is, how far did you actually play into that game? Would you see yourself playing it at a future date? I would love to have my favorite gamer ever. Oh, my favorite game ever played by my favorite content creator. It, of course, has its flaws, but it's still a Squaresoft RPG. There are well-known grinding exploits in the game on the island of Heaven and Hell on Disc 3, so no need to worry about it being too time-consuming. The exploits are so busted you don't even have to grind before Disc 3. I've mastered the game, so I can give you advice, etc., so you could have an easy, quick run-through and fully weigh in on whether you still dislike the game or not. When I'm in a better position financially, I may be even willing to pay towards the inconvenience of having to play another RPG on your channel when they don't do well. Although I genuinely feel there would be a ton of interest in you playing Final Fantasy VIII Kupo from an 8-year-long fan. All right. Final Fantasy VIII. I've talked about this game over the years. I'll talk about it again. What you guys got to remember is that everything I tell you about Final Fantasy VIII is based on my recollection of playing it in the 1990s when it was a new game. I never tried to play it again. Maybe I'm wrong on some of the things and counts that I say about this game, but I would tell you to the best of my knowledge why I did not like Final Fantasy VIII, okay? First of all, I remember the magic system. Wasn't it called the draw system or something like that? Like, you didn't learn spells. You had to suck spells out of enemies, which sucked because it was required grinding. Like, oh, I'm going to prepare for a new area. I got to go suck spells out of enemies so that when I go to the next area, I have spells to use, right? It sucked ass. It wasn't fun for me. People are saying it's called the junction system. Okay. I hated that system. I was like, no, Final Fantasy, you fight, you grind, you learn spells over time. Now, there's variations. Like in Final Fantasy VI, you had to have certain ethers Excuse me, was it ether? No, espers equipped, and the esper crystal you had equipped would teach you certain spells over a certain period of time. Final Fantasy VII, you had to have the materia equipped, and it was the same premise, right? Final Fantasy VIII, you suck spells out of a monster. What the fuck? Like, what were they even thinking about that? Like, that doesn't even make any sense, right? That's number one. Number two, there's a card game in the game that's like, I don't know, I think it was some required grinding in that card game to win certain story segments, but mostly you could get good things from doing this card game, but I hated the card game. Like, I thought the card game sucked. I wasn't having fun playing it, and a lot of the times it seems like the game would cheat. I don't know. Again, this is my recollection from the 90s. I don't know. Maybe I just didn't understand the card game, but I hated playing the fucking card game, and it was the first Final Fantasy to integrate anything like that into it, and I didn't like that. I didn't want to have to play a card game when I'm playing. I'm already playing a game. I don't want to play a game within a fucking game. You know what I mean? So, the third thing that I hated about Final Fantasy VIII, I didn't like any of the characters. Like, in previous Final Fantasies, even if... I actually didn't like Cloud as the protagonist of Final Fantasy VII, but I liked Barrett's character. I liked Red. I liked him as a character, his design. Like, there was always, like, one or two characters I would latch onto who I really liked in the game, and I would make them a staple of my party or whatever. In Final Fantasy VIII, I didn't like anyone. I thought everyone was an obnoxious fucking character who just was not likable. So it's like, not only am I playing a game where I don't like the combat, but now I don't really like the story either because I hate these fucking characters, okay? And then on top of all of that, alright, there was a segment of the game, and if I'm wrong about this, I apologize, it's just my recollection. I remember there was a swap between discs, and at one point, you were swapping between discs, and you were in the middle of a dungeon when you had to swap discs, because this is a multiple disc game, and so it had a required save at a certain point in a dungeon. But then you had to fight a boss, I think it was a queen, I don't remember what her name was, Venezia, or whatever the fuck she was. I guess she was like a demon queen or something, I don't remember. And I remember getting to her, I had like no problem in the dungeon, I scooted through the dungeon, no problem, beat everything. I get to her, she's like wiping my party. Game over. I'm like, huh? Why is she so hard? Why is this like such a giant skill jump when it doesn't make sense. So then I was like, oh, well, maybe I need to go back and grind. But I couldn't grind because I'd saved the game because there was a CD swap. So literally I was stuck at a point in the game where I couldn't progress because I couldn't grind and I couldn't beat the boss. So I was like, I toughed through this entire game to get to this point, and I couldn't beat it. I was like, I literally would have to get like super lucky. I just couldn't beat this boss. And I was like, enough is enough. I'm not going to replay the game from the fucking start to do this. I've had enough of this shit game, and I stopped playing it. Now, I remember, hold on a second. God. Oh, so I remember when I was playing this game, I was so angry. This was when, you guys may notice that typically, I actually haven't done this for Dragon Quest XI, but most RPGs I do, I make crazy amounts of save files. Like, I'll have 10 save files that I alternate between when I'm playing an RPG, typically. And the reason for that is because I'm always afraid this situation will happen again. I'll get to a point in a game because I didn't save at a good time that I can't go back and do something I need to do to progress. I'll hit a wall and I'm fucked. And now I gotta start the game over. So... yeah, like, that's why in the modern day I do that. That was actually the start of me doing that, making the multiple save slots. But outside of that, I just never went back to it. I never went back at all. I said, fuck this game, I never replayed it. And that was the 90s, so... Now, would I ever go back and play Final Fantasy VIII again? Sure. If people wanted to see it, if that's something people, desired, absolutely I would go back and play Final Fantasy VIII. But, much like everything else, no one really asks for it. People have wanted me to, have asked me, are you going to play Final Fantasy VII? Are you going to play Final Fantasy IX? Are you going to... But there's never any mainstream appeal. And every time I play a JRPG, no one watches. You see what I mean? Like, it's always low attendance. So it never is any kind of abundant desire for me to go back and play an old school JRPG. Not to say I wouldn't enjoy it. I think I would. To play Final Fantasy VII... again, I probably like it. Final Fantasy IX is one I've never even played. I probably love to do that. But no one seems to desire me to go and play these RPGs. So yeah, Ace Gamer says eventually maybe he would even financially support me doing a playthrough of it since he knows it wouldn't do well. I mean, for me, the way I see it, as long it's not about viewership anymore. Thank God it's not, because imagine if viewership on YouTube was my big thing still. Oh my God. It's about participation. If the people, even if it's only 100 people come and watch, but people are, you know, being supportive during the streams, it actually doesn't matter how many people are watching. So I could play a game that's lesser known and doesn't get me much popularity with views on YouTube, but as long as people are coming out and being supportive, I can keep playing it. And honestly, that's kind of what's been going on with Dragon Quest XI, is even though the streams aren't popular, the people who are here are being supportive during those streams, allowing me to keep playing it and have fun with it, which is amazing because I love the game, okay? So we'll see. We'll see in the future if it ever happens, but I'm not going to rule it out as a possibility, okay? Let's continue on. What time? About 30 minutes? Yeah, okay, so we still got about 10, 15 minutes before I have to take a break. Good. Next question is actually a double question. It's a double question from Fallen FGFM 1570. And he asks the following. First, he says, how's your back doing? I noticed there hasn't been an issue with it. That is correct. Like, my back, for the most part, is good. You know, when I lived in Connecticut, you got to realize there were a lot of factors involved that made my back worse. Even though I had a severely herniated disc, there was snow and ice constantly in the winter. There were incredibly hot, humid, nasty fucking summers. I lived alone, and I had to constantly, like, when I go grocery shopping or whatever, I would have to carry all the shit by myself. I had to walk from my car through this parking lot that was a piece of shit falling apart, up a staircase, down a long hallway to get to my unit and back. It wasn't like now where I have a garage. And a lot of stuff was far away from me. If I wanted to do stuff in Connecticut, I had to drive a lot to get to that stuff. Since I moved to Washington State, I have a garage, so I don't have to worry about long walks to and from my car. There's relatively no snow or ice to have to worry about. There's no really super hot weather to worry about. I don't have to do strenuous physical activity. Oh, I go grocery shopping. I take the bags from the trunk into the kitchen, which is the next room over. It's like 2 seconds. I basically have a better life out here, because of the things out here are very different from when I lived in Connecticut, and it's allowed me to adjust, and my back has healed. I think what happened was the herniation of the disc went away, and the muscles around the spine in that area of my back strengthened, and I'm good now. So I have not had a single issue with my back in probably over a year. Every once in a while, sure, I'll go out, and I spend a whole day out, and I come back, and my back is like tight and hurts a little bit, but within a few hours, it's better again. So I think I'm good. I think my back injury is good, which is amazing because a lot of people have those debilitating back injuries and they never get better. Mine actually did, which is pretty damn positive and crazy. So his second question is, do you ever feel any nostalgia playing older games or games that you've played before? It always does when I beat a game before. Yeah. You know, it's funny because, you know, I go back and I play, right now, at any moment, I could drop everything I'm doing and I could play a game like Super Mario World, Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, Final Fantasy 4, 5, or 6, Chrono Trigger, Earthbound, those kind of games. I could go back and play them and I would love them. I have this big nostalgic feeling about that era of the Super NES in particular, where there were so many great games that I know I could go back and just play and enjoy the hell out of them and get that feeling back of, wow, I remember when I was a kid and I was sitting in my room on a tube TV in the middle of the summer with a cool drink, you know, and the fan blowing, playing these games and just having fun as a kid, you know, and you get the nostalgic feeling back again. And I'm very happy that over the years being a content creator, I've had the pleasure of playing games like Super Mario World, Link to the Past, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI, and the like as playthroughs. There's a really awesome feeling to be able to play those games as playthroughs and share those experiences with you guys. And by the way, I should bring this up. I'm going to be playing Final Fantasy IV at some point. I own it on the 3DS. I've had it for 2 fucking years, and I've wanted to play it. I want to play that goddamn game. I love that game. I would love to do streams with that game with you guys. And now that my streams are more interactive and more positive and fun, I think that this would be a great time to do it. Obviously, I'm not doing it now during the hardcore gaming season, but Final Fantasy IV is definitely one I would like to do. Is it Suikoden or Suikoden? I don't know how to pronounce it, but that series of games, I played the first 2, and I absolutely love those games. That's a series I would love to play at some point. I'm going to do it eventually. You know what I mean? Also, Lost Odyssey. That was an RPG that I played during the era of 2007, 2008 before I was uploading videos to YouTube. And I was trying to immerse myself back into console gaming culture. And I loved Lost Odyssey. Lost Odyssey is like a traditional JRPG. It's very challenging, I should bring up, by the way. It does require a lot of very, very high-level JRPG knowledge to be good at it. But I remember playing it and loving the game. And I would love to do a playthrough of that one eventually. So, Yeah, very excited for classics, and I do certain games. I get that nostalgia feeling back, and I hope that eventually I can get those again. Okay, let's see here. Wow, he has a lot of questions. Let's do some shout outs. Himanoma cheered a bunch again. He cheered 100 bits and says, I can't pull off cowboy boots. Have you ever considered integrating them into your wardrobe? No, boots are not my thing. I've got ginormous feet. I'm not even kidding, size 13 feet. And I would not want to be wearing confined boots. That would probably create something called odor. And that would not be good. Himanoma cheered again. He says, do you have a favorite podcast? No, I don't watch any podcasts. I don't watch a single podcast or listen to one. So, Himanoma did a 300-bit cheer. He says, would a Duke Nukem Final Fantasy mashup work? I have no idea. And then he cheered a 200-bit cheer. He says, would you consider Killer 7? It's pretty darn good. I actually owned Killer 7 and never played it. That was a game that I bought, and I don't know, for whatever reason, I just never played it. I heard good things about it, but I don't know. I remember buying it. I had it packaged, everything, and I never opened it. And I ended up getting rid of it later on. I don't remember. I really don't remember the circumstance around it. If people would want to see me play it, I would play it. Everyone asks me, will you play this game? Will you play this game? Will you play this game? If you want to see it, sure. But no, you know, is there demand for it is the question. Okay. Let's go ahead and continue. I think we got one person who asked 3 questions. So maybe what we'll just do is answer those questions. Then we'll go on a break. Then we'll come back with Twitter questions, patron shoutouts, and stream Q&A. Maybe that's a good way to end the show. Okay. All right. So T-Dubs, a frequent stream viewer, actually asked several questions for Ask the King. And I actually thought that, it was quite a good game. Quite a good number of questions, what I meant to say. So we're going to go through all of his questions here. His first question is, what are your thoughts on this mini console craze that's been going on for the last few years? I know that Sega Dreamcast or Saturn would get me hyped because of how hard those games are to get in the modern era. I know some people are hyped about the Neo Geo Classic that was announced recently. My question is, would you ever consider... Oh, wait a minute. It cut off. What the heck? My question is, he already asked this question. It cut off here. So his first thoughts is, what are my thoughts? His first... Let's try this again. Let's try this again. What are my thoughts on the mini console craze? That's number 1. His second question, what mini console would get me hyped? And then his third question was about Street Fighter tournaments. We'll get to that one. Let's address his first 2 questions about mini consoles, okay? So, what are my thoughts on the mini console craze and what mini console would get me hyped? My thoughts on the craze are, it's basically nostalgia. It's the idea of, oh, I can go buy a little version, a collectible version of a console that maybe I had from my childhood or was a collector's item, you know, and I can play the best classic games from that console's generation with my modern TV, with modern, controller right there that's plugged into this modern console, and not have to worry about, oh no, I bought an NES, but now how the fuck do I play NES on my modern TV that doesn't have any of this kind of video input or anything, right? I can convert the video feed 100 times or whatever. Same time, some people do like to stream and capture, so buying that mini console allows you to play those games really easily on the fly and capture everything and do everything you want to do because, again, it's HDMI out or whatever, right? So that being said, I definitely understand why they're popular. I get it. It's a cool collector's item. It allows you to play games from the past with relative ease. The price point for some of these, I mean, $100 or more for a console that before this console existed, you could go buy a used NES for $15. You could probably buy the NES games for $5 each. You know what I mean? The only ease of use here is that you're getting it all in one package. You don't have to swap cartridges or clean the console, and you don't have to do video conversion. Is that worth $100? That's a subjective question for people for themselves. You know what I mean? Maybe for the NES and the SNES Classic, you'd say, yes, it's worth it because Nintendo has removed those ROMs that used to be available to get those games for free and play them on an emulator. You can't really get those ROMs on the internet for free anymore, so therefore you wouldn't be able to emulate those games. You know what I mean? At the same time, You could probably, on a Nintendo Virtual Console, play a lot of those games, you know, the Wii U Virtual Console or whatever. You could probably download a lot of those classic games and play them for much cheaper than spending $100 on a console. So, in those regards, it does seem to me more like a nostalgia factor than anything else, or a collectible item. You know what I mean? Now, the one everyone's talking about, it was just announced a few days ago, the PlayStation 1 Classic or the PlayStation 1 Mini or both. I can't remember exactly what the name of it is. It's going to be $100, and apparently it's going to have 20 games pre-installed on it, including the classics such as Final Fantasy VII, Tekken 3. It's going to have a Ridge Racer, and it's also going to have Wild Arms. For those who don't know, Wild Arms was a very, very fun turn-based combat-style JRPG from the 90s that was exclusive to the PlayStation, and I think there were 3 of them, and I played at least 2 of them, okay? So people heard this, oh my god, and it comes with 2 controllers, so for the games that will have local multiplayer, you'll be able to do multiplayer, because it comes with 2 controllers. Again, just like the SNES or NES Mini, it's HDMI out, so you can easily hook it to your TV or your capture setup. So it seems like a good deal, except for what a lot of people don't realize, is that a lot of those games are already actively available. Like Final Fantasy VII, you can get, I think, for $5 or $10 on PlayStation Network right now if you own a PlayStation 3. So there already are kind of alternatives. Unless you love every game that's going to be on this console, really it's not a deal. Like, you're actually going to be paying more money buying the console than just buying 2-3 virtual versions of games that you could play right now on a console you already own. For me, the PS1 Mini, initially, I saw it and I was like, wow, that sounds like a great idea and I might get it. But then I decided against it and said, no, I won't, because it's $100. And actually, I realized I already own Final Fantasy VII digitally on PSN. I'd completely forgotten that years and years ago, when I was originally doing the original Project 7 back in like 2010, it was going to be based off of me doing a playthrough of Final Fantasy VII. And so I bought the game and played through some of it on my PS3 years and years and years ago. And I own it already. So why am I going to buy the PS Mini, right, when I already own the biggest game that people would want to see me play on it? So really, for me, like, I understand that for some people, like, if you don't own any classic consoles, you don't own a PS3, you don't own a Wii U, and for the first time you want to just retro go back and play classic games, these mini consoles are probably a good investment, plus HDMI out, which allows you to capture it right away easily, right? But if you're someone who already is into nostalgia, I already have an NES, I have classic games I can play on my NES. You know, I could play it on Virtual Console. I could download some of these games and play them right now for cheaper. It doesn't really make sense. For me, similar to what you said, T-Dubs, the one that would really get me excited, like you just said, either the Sega Saturn or the Dreamcast, if those had a mini console, that would get me pumped, because those are not games that you can actively get anywhere. They're very hard to find, a lot of those games. The emulators for those games aren't necessarily perfect, so they don't run well. And so having a console, like if you had a Dreamcast that had Crazy Taxi, Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and 2, Shenmue, you know, like if you had like 10 amazing Dreamcast games on a Dreamcast Mini, fuck man, I would buy that. You know what I mean? Like, that would be a really cool thing. The Saturn is like all but you can't even find it at all, you know? So getting Saturn 20 classic set Guardian Heroes and all that. The thing is, a lot of the games for Saturn that were some of the most popular already were kind of ripped and re-released. Like, you can get Guardian Heroes right now on Xbox Live Marketplace and play through the whole game, no problem. So the question is, again, what the value versus nostalgia factor versus is it collectible? It would be hard to say. But those would be the two that would get me excited, would be the Saturn Mini or the Dreamcast Mini, because those aren't things that I could easily get from other sources right now, okay? All right, now we're going to move on to a totally different kind of question, but still from T-Dubs. He asks, when you would participate in Street Fighter tournaments, how were they run? And if you had to host your own, how would you run them? Well, it's a funny thing you asked that, T-Dubs, because I did. I was, for about 2-3 years, very well regarded as a high-level guy running tournaments on the East Coast. I ran ECC one year. ECC was the biggest East Coast tournament, and I ran it, okay? Along with Josh Wigfall. Gotta give credit where credit is due. We split the responsibilities that year. But I ran a whole tournament series in the New York, New Jersey area, where it would be Super Turbo, Third Strike, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and CVS 2. This was before Street Fighter 4 came out, so those were the big 4 fighting games that were still very popular at the time in circles. Also, every once in a while, I would hold like a Tekken or something else at these events as well. But yeah, I held a bunch of tournaments in Connecticut as well as in New York and Jersey. And the way I run tournaments was very different from the way a lot of other people ran them. Allow me to explain. My pet peeve about going to a fighting game tournament, at least when I used to attend them, was that you would go, oh, I'm in a bracket, I'm ready to play. Well, guess what? No one's here. Your opponent isn't here. The people from your bracket aren't here yet. So we're going to run a different bracket. Or you'd have your first round match, then sit around for 3 hours waiting for your second round match. Like, what the fuck? I'm doing nothing. I'm bored as hell. I don't want to sit here waiting. I want to play my matches so then I could either leave or go play casual matches. Because the thing is, at your discretion, it's not like you're locked in a room waiting for your match. You could do whatever you want at a game tournament. But if you're not there for your match, you could get disqualified. And sadly, I had to say, I always had bad luck. Like, I would be the guy, I'd be around the entire time waiting for my match. Then I have to take a dump or something. I go to take a dump, I come back, oh, you were disqualified because you weren't here for your match. Dude, I was here for 3 hours. I go for 5 minutes to take a shit. I come back and you disqualified me, right? But that's kind of what would happen at these tournaments is they wouldn't be run efficiently. They would be run, but they weren't run efficiently. So you would be waiting and tons of downtime and just being pissed off. Another thing that happened at these tournaments was favoritism, which I really never supported at all. Oh, a notable top player is in your bracket and he said he can't make it here for another hour, so you're just going to have to wait. Why? I don't care if a top player or not is not here. If they're not here, fucking disqualify them. You know, I'm not going to put up with that shit. And this would happen all the time at major tournaments. The whole tournament would be held up because the top player wasn't there yet. And everyone had to wait. And like, what the fuck? I don't care. They're not some fucking god or idol or movie star that I have to fucking put up with. Fuck them. Disqualify their ass. They should have been here on time like everybody else. But that shit would happen all the time. Or floating. You might not know what that means. In a tournament that has a bracket, okay, basically people have matchups, okay, and what would happen, oh, this person's not here yet, so we're just going to take them out of the bracket and put their name over here, and when they finally do show up, then we'll just squeeze them in somewhere into the tournament. That's not how it works. Like, when you have a tournament, you should have brackets preset, and it goes like that. Now, oh, this guy's not here, so he's favoritism, so he floats to another part of the bracket for later on in the tournament, and that shit happened all the time in tournaments that I attended. And they're all problems, in my opinion. Favoritism, preferential floating, not being, you know, pertinent, or not pertinent, not being prompt with how you run the tournament. I was at tournaments that literally ran 24 hours. You had to be there at noon, and the tournament ran till noon the next day because people were not running it efficiently, and no one slept. I'm serious. I've been to tournaments like this. So, when I ran tournaments, I was the no-nonsense fucking guy. And the reason people liked my tournaments is because I did not put up with that shit. So people who were responsible, mature, and prompt would fucking be there, play their matches, have fun, and you'd actually have a good tournament, right? Versus, oh, we don't have to wait for this special person and shit. And top players who got preferential treatment everywhere else had to show up and act responsible at my tournaments, not like everyone else where they got their asses kissed. I didn't put up with that shit. Another thing I never did, I never had special guest attendee who got their ass kissed and was on the bill that they're going to be at the tournament, because there was a big thing going on at the time where Japanese players were very well known and people wanted to have Japanese players at their tournaments, but the Japanese players, I'm not even kidding you, would say, we're not going to attend your tournament unless you pay our way. Pay for the flight, pay for the hotel, pay for our food and accommodations, and pay for our entry fee. So, like, again, like they're a celebrity. They're coming into your tournament and they're going to draw more players. So pay $4,000 for them to have a paid vacation at your tournament. I never did that shit. I said, fuck that. You want to come, you pay your own way, you earn your place in the tournament. You don't just fucking come in like you're the big shot and everyone has to fucking roll out the red carpet for you. But that happened all the time in Street Fighter tournaments back then. The featured player, blah, 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 and they get the free ride and everything. Fuck that. Oh, by the way, then they wouldn't show up on time and they got the float. They floated through the bracket, preferential treatment. I did none of that. And for about 2 or 3 years when I was running tournaments, people who attended my tournament series loved them. I got nothing but positive feedback. The only people who complained, the people who wanted the preferential treatment and were lazy and they would show up late and get disqualified. I had one guy, won't say his name, but he was a very prominent player in a few different gaming communities. It wasn't just Street Fighter, but others. And he always got his ass kissed everywhere he went. And he was late and he got disqualified. He came to me 2 hours late, first, screaming angry. How dare you treat me like this? How dare you? I said, I don't care who the fuck you are. You weren't here. You know the rules. Sorry that I'm not like the other pushover, you know, ball kissers who you go attend their tournaments. People want their tournament done on time. This is an adult fucking run situation. Tough shit. You're out. 2 hours later, comes back begging me, please just let me into the tournament. Please. I came out here to play in the tournament. No. That's how it was for me. You know? I'm just a no-nonsense kind of guy. I don't put up with that shit, you know? Two players fighting at my tournament, you're not fighting inside the venue. You go outside and fight in the street, and when the cops come arrest you, don't come, you know, bitching to me because you acted like a 5-year-old in a schoolyard punching someone or whatever. You go out there and deal with your own shit. That's not going to do you fly in my fucking tournament, you know? And that's how all that stuff was handled. So, you know, that was me. And people respected me as a tournament organizer and loved the stuff that I did because of that. But that's honestly a lot of the times that I didn't like tournaments. And the final tournament where basically I stopped playing competitively in 2007 was because it was EVO. And it was preferential treatment and preferential floating. And it was bullshit. Like they rigged the brackets against me. You know, people say all the time, oh, Phil, you know, you exaggerate. No, the people who run EVO don't like me. For many, many reasons over the years, okay? There's many times I've called them out or whatever. I've been banned from SureYouCan.com multiple times for doing things like calling them out, GGPO, saying that it had input drops and delay, and they said it didn't, and then come to find out it did, and they said, oh, well, we didn't want to tell anyone because we were trying to sell it to Capcom and shit like that. So the last straw for me was when I went to EVO 2007, and I was hanging out with Graham Wolf. He was a very high-level Super Turbo player. I had played with him, against him, and with him at other qualifiers that year for Super Turbo. Well, EVO staff got wind that I was playing with Graham Wolf for like a week to practice for EVO, so he knew all my shit, right? And they put me against him first round on purpose to fucking put me into the loser's bracket immediately in this fucking tournament because they didn't want to see me do well. They had known that I had done well at all the qualifiers that year, but they wanted to fuck me over at the finals, so they put me against him first round. Someone who literally had learned how to beat me in a few days before EVO, and they knew that. They put him against him first round. By the way, guess who eliminated me in that tournament? Tokido, who was also in my bracket, which made no fucking sense because Tokido, again, someone who infamously I've played a million times, and you're like, if I'm going to face Tokido, it should be, you know, at a high level of the tournament, not like third round in the fucking tournament, I'm playing Taquito or whatever. So, basically, they rigged the brackets against me, and I said, why am I ever going to go back to this fucking thing? I'm never going to have fun playing in this tournament. It's just a grind. It's a waste of time. And that's the thing. When I did tournaments, I did it fair. I'd split it up to make it so that every round was fair and challenging and fun, and I wouldn't do bullshit, you know, floating, and I wouldn't have preferential treatment. It was a very different experience attending a DSP tournament versus someone else's tournament, and some people loved that, and for a lot of the top players, they didn't like that because they didn't get their asses kissed, and they didn't get that cheating kind of preferential treatment at my tournaments, so they didn't like that. Okay, a couple shout-outs here. Him and Oma did 100-bit cheers. Were any of the tournaments on stand-up machines? Yes. Yes, many tournaments from the entire time of the 90s into like the first half of the 2000s, every tournament was on a stand-up arcade cabinet. It wasn't until like the mid-2000s that there was a conversion from arcade to console versions of games. And even then, look at what happened with Super Turbo. They could never agree on what was the good console version. PS1, PS2, this collection, that collection, HD remix, then this version, then this. There's never an agreement on what's the right version to play of these games. The classics, at least. So, excuse me. Frank South tipped me $10 and said, I'll drink to that. I have no idea what he's referencing at all. But thank you, Frank South, for the top tip for today. Let's get you up on the leaderboard. Thank you, thank you. Get that centered if I can. Of course, now probably someone will cheer and mess it up anyway. Insomniatic Meat also did a 100-bit cheer. Thank you very much, Insomniatic Meat. Okay, let's now take a break. Let's take about another 15-minute break, everyone. If you're watching on stream, it'll be just the 15 minutes. I'll be back and we'll continue. If you're watching this live on YouTube or on demand on YouTube, I'm going to end this video and there'll be a third and final part. What are we going to do in the third and final part? We're going to do Twitter questions, shout-outs, and some stream chat questions. Okay, everyone? So thanks. I'll be back with more after the break. Thanks for everyone for being supportive, and I'll see you then.